how the money is even going down.
So here's what they have done.
Your principal is now almost even...
Here's what they have done. Professor Jambo, there is this mark-to-market valuation that they have done, and that's with EDC.
Yes,
it's something that a lot of people are complaining about.
It's happening at Data Bank too.
Yes. So the thing is that you see, so as a response, some of the companies that have not been paid came out the media to complain that they haven't been paid. You know, as part of the domestic debt exchange. Yeah, so bondholders had to, opt to join the program or not. But there are some companies that didn't join, and they were assured that they will be paid.
I see.
They've not been paid. It's a big problem, you see.
Right.
But as I mentioned, it's because you're asking me about individuals. So, naturally, I have to talk about my constituency first, right? Yes, but for the companies, you would find that, no, lots of them haven't been paid, and it's a big problem.
I see.
Extremely big, and yet you have this bloated government, and yet you have, stealing and stashing our money abroad.
The haircuts that they give to us, they should return. They should pay us back our money. The haircuts.
So there is a lot of disquiet, There's a lot of disquiet when it comes to the companies. It's really bad. It's really, really, really terrible. And people are having, nightmares here and there. So it's good that the president has mentioned this, he should be taken on, and that the companies be paid, because you can't rob Peter to pay Paul. It doesn't work like that. We've been practicing that economic model for far too long. You rob Peter to pay Paul, then you make things look good. Meanwhile, people are dying. You would hear, one of the stations played an MD of a company. The man was crying because you've thrown his plans ajar. A company plans, and the plans take it nowhere because its source of livelihood, its source of money, have been truncated through failure to pay the bonds.
I see. Well, I've just got information from some of the individual bondholders that some of them have not been paid or received their coupons as yet. It's something that we'll interrogate. But generally, the President, State of the Nation reflect your reality.
Anyway, let me start this on the small note that, because I'm a free SHS ambassador, let me start with that one. They say to criticize a man, or before you criticize a man, you praise him. So for free SHS...
that is not the case. The point is that I'm adding to it that there are two sides to every coin. I'm just helping your argument. Don't say before you criticize the man, you praise him. There are two sides to every coin.
Indeed.
So you want to look at both sides.
I'm choosing the one that I know what I want to say. I'm saying to criticize a man, before you criticize a man, you praise him. It's even in the Bible. That way it makes him more open to receive your criticism. Yeah, because it's excited first.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, so that's the one I've chosen. There are different, views, different theories, in terms of going about this. And I'm choosing the one that before you criticize a man, praise him. So today, that's the one. So I'm saying because of free SHS, so that one, we are happy about it. The bold initiative the president took, and some of the dividends we are harvesting from the bold free SHS initiative. Yes. When you educate a man, what Agri said, when you educate a woman, you educate a nation, right? And so the spirit of that saying, so I'm looking at it that we will continue to harvest a lot of dividends from the free SHS policy, right? And so, and it's also heartwarming that at least some of the potential, some of the presidential candidates have also said when they come, they will review it to make it better. That's good, because for me, for free SHS, that is something we should protect. That's why when I hear some people say, let's cancel it, I'm like, oh, it means that we are not well informed. If you look in our budget, there's so much frivolous spending we do. Free SHS is not the one to tackle or to cancel at all. Anybody who tells you that you'll cancel free SHS, then the person doesn't even know basic economics. Look in the budget. And that's why I said, thankfully, I hear Baumia say he'll make it better. I hear JM say he'll make it better. And I'm sure more candidates will. So that's the good side. The second point, briefly, before I go to where it doesn't reflect my reality, is about the energy sector. I hear him, and I hope, right now, I'm just seeking to talk to John Jinapor to see what is his stake. Because I heard very mouth-watering savings in the energy sector. He said, currently we are paying, ECG is paying $43 million, fixed monthly payment Hitherto, it was over 70 million. It's mouth-watering. So subject to what Jinapor says, I think that's also an improvement. I say so because, you see, the immediate past country director of the World Bank, Laporte, he said the take-or-pay agreements the previous administration signed were terribly bad. And, you know, there's been that argument between Jinapor and Bawumia for years now about the excess capacity we pay or not, you see. So it's something that actually I wish one day we'll have a full session on this excess capacity, because Bawumia mentioned a very huge figure that they are paying. Jinapor is rebutted. You know, it's been going on, back and forth for years.
The 43 million we talk about is the payment to the IPPs.
Yes. And he says now that's a monthly figure, 43 million, but hitherto it was over 70 million. Did I hear 76? I don't want to commit to any figure, but 70 something. So that's a huge figure. That's why I said subject to what Jinapor says, because, you know, I don't have as much information in the sector as he does. So that is something I'm looking forward to. But I'm not expecting that when Jinapor comes back, it will be that it's zero. No, maybe a reduction. Perhaps it's been inflated or something, right? But so that is a second step that, or that's the second part of the speech that I'm happy about, right? And we should commend the president for at least some improvement. Because, you know, Dumso is threatening to come back. So for me, anything that shows that we can pay is something I should be excited about, because Dumso is actually, for the past 1 month, it's been back with us. Dumso has been back for the past 1 month. I have people, and even myself, sometimes my lights have gone off. But I have other people who say that it goes off for close to 24 hours. Their fridges are swelling, etc. And you know, it didn't start this way. Is it a year or so ago? Otunfor complained in Kumasi. You see, so they had to say they would transport one of the badges to Kumasi to fix it. And even the cost of the transportation alone, once again, people wanted to steal and stash our money abroad, right? So the second part of the speech, as I say, commend the president for now, is about helping to reduce the money we pay electricity, because that makes it quite sustainable.
There's something they call the cash waterfall mechanism.
Yeah.
That they had this arrangement with the IPPs to be paying that amount of money at the end of
yes,
the month.
but the reduction, reduction from over 70-something million a month to 43 is what I'm talking about specific. Yes. So that's why I'm saying that if it turns out that all of it is true, kudos. If it turns out that it's only part, still kudos. And that's something we should be watching, because we don't want Dumso back. We can effect a regime change with our Dumso. People are ready to boot out the MPP. We don't need Dumso before they go out. You see, we don't want that. Yeah, let's not mix them. Nobody's praying for Dumso, because Dumso affects all of us. Now, Mr. Ocansey, so my reality, a small comment on the speech. I think the speech writer, he's not up to scratch. He needs to improve. Yeah, he needs to improve.
Why do you say this?
My page, yes, just a small comment on it. And look, please, when I say this, because we are also learning. Look, as I sit here, I'm still in school, right? We are learning, so he shouldn't take it hard. He should compare, you know, around the world and see how he can improve. 31-page speech. I don't see an introduction that tells me what he's going to talk about. So it means that for everything, I have to read everything. I should get a summary. This speech covers maybe 7 or 8 thematic areas, X, Y, Z. You see, Prof, like when you teach students, your introduction should tell her, I'm going to read 31 pages. I don't know what it encapsulates, so I must read every page. Oh, and then have subheadings. We are not bound to use one style. We are improving. I'm expecting that for 31 pages, the paragraph should be numbered. Yes, so that I would say, okay, paragraph 18. 20, so that Mr. Ocansey is straight. When I say that, you can refer that, then we can go on. Look, this is how it turns out. Like, I'm a lawyer, obviously. When I go to court, you look at British judgments, you take it, paragraphs. Now, it's speculated in our court system. You find judges right, and they put paragraphs. So you say, yes, I'm talking about the paragraph, maybe 15 of the judgment. So straight, you go there, then the discussion flows. So the speechwriter should read around a bit, put paragraphs, just like the budget statement. You see, the budget statement that is delivered annual. Is that your budget statement? Yeah, so you see paragraph numbers. So that I can, because for 31 pages, I don't know, how am I going to, if I'm looking for something specific, I have to be looking for a needle in a haystack. No. Paragraphs have subheadings, education, corruption, galamsey, this is it. Now, the reason the speech doesn't reflect my reality is that I don't see the president talking about the hungry people so much. You've heard people, or even let's start with corruption. You've heard people say that corruption is not tackled. And you see, corruption is our biggest problem. I'm like, hey, or is it because the system has been so weak? You see, and the corruption, I'm tying it to the executive power in the Constitution and the Constitution itself. He says that the Constitution has served us very well. I want to tackle it with corruption together, that this Constitution has served us very well. I'm like, this speech writer, are you okay? Is that...
Well, no. So why do you disagree?
Yes, so that's why, yes, that's what I'm saying. I think that, it's obvious, right? Yes, it's obvious that we are suffocating under this Constitution. There's a Constitution that has enabled Akufo-Addo to appoint his brother as finance minister. You were just talking about bonds a minute ago. So we borrow bonds, then their family becomes rich through data bank. We borrow, then their family becomes rich. All parliamentarians come and advise him that, hey, sack your brother from the Ministry of Finance over about a year and a half later before he does so. So this is a Constitution you say it's serving as well. Number 2, citizens asked to vote for MMDCs on non-partisan lines, right? There's a CDD survey that shows that 76% of citizens say so. And then the president says no, he alone. So you call such a constitution that has served us well? I mean, how? Now, you come to corruption, the other part of it, that we find that the law on corruption is not good. As part of it, we want an asset declaration law that will make sure that for assets that are declared, citizens can have access. They should be published or perish. Publish or perish. And the president has been dancing around. We are not able to do anything to him. He looks like he won't even present the bill anymore to Parliament. Don't forget.
The Conduct of Public Officers Bill.
Thank you very much. This is a bill that he had run away from, but thankfully the IMF pulled him back to it. And look, since last September, I mean, the last time I heard you talk about it was last September at the annual bar conference. He said, oh, he will bring us a world-class bill. From September, this is what? March. We still haven't seen the bill. So when is it going to go to Parliament, etc., right? So when he makes the statement that this Constitution has served us well, I'm like, this president, no, don't do that. You know, that he's now making a lame excuse that we should find ways of making it work better. There should be a consensus. What better consensus could there have been than 76% of the citizens, led by Samson Ladi saying that we want election of MMDCs on non-partisan lines? And this debate too didn't start today. You read our history, you go to the Second Republic, it was there. This debate that don't politicize the district assemblies was there, Second Republic. There was a demonstration in Accra, big one, led by the Justice Party. You read Obeda Samuel's book, he talks about it. People had to demonstrate in Buzia's government that no, we don't want partisan affiliations in the district assembly. So it didn't start today. This is a debate that's over 50 years old, right? So you come and find that having refused us the opportunity to make our DCs accountable, yet the speech can say that this Constitution has served us well. I'm like, no, perhaps the statement should be that it has served the president's parochial interest. That is to say, make his family rich, right? Yes, then you come to the next point. He says that it's only an unwise president who doesn't listen to advice. And before then, he has a statement saying that he wants to respond to some discourse in the general public. Please, let's listen to this very carefully. He says he wants to respond to the discourse in the public.
While you look for that, I have a video for that. Okay. But let me just quickly engage Mariada, who is the Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, local chapter of Transparency International. Mary, it's good to have you. First of all, let me find out from you whether for you in the anti-corruption space as well, you were expecting that the president will talk about corruption in the State of the Nation address. One of the issues that was missing in this over 1 hour, 45 minutes State of the Nation address that the president presented, corruption.
Certainly so, because we know for sure that this is an account of all that has been going on, the situational analysis of what we have done, what we are doing, and what we seek to do as a people. And for anybody to speak to those situations, talk about governance and neglect to speak about corruption, I do not know what to say, but certainly that is a matter that needed some attention from the president, I must say. But then if I may, Alfred, it's not something that is out of the moon that perhaps we did not expect, because gradually the president in the past has sought to move away from speaking about anything concerning corruption. It's either mentioned in passing over the years as his tenure progressed. And so even last year, I believe so, the last 3 years, there has been some, maybe it's the omission of the speechwriters, but I think there has been some very deliberate ploy to remove the subject matter from the discourse, but that rather brings the issue to the fore, because people then pay attention more that what's happening if we are talking about this subject on a daily basis. There are issues on a daily basis, and yet this is not a subject matter that's being dealt with. It means we are talking about the state of the nation, but not reflected in the true state of the nation if we don't speak about anti-corruption moves and the situation we are confronted with when it comes to corruption.
Important point. Thank you so much for this input. Appreciate it. Mary Ada is the director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. So it was key for them as well in the anti-corruption space, Ghana Integrity Initiative and many others, that the president did not talk about corruption as part of the State of the Nation address. One of the issues that was conspicuously missing in there, the illegal mining, unemployment and so on. Yes, but you were on the point about taking responsibility.
Yes.
That discourse that had been going on as to who has to take responsibility, or whether Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is supposed to be held responsible for some part of the economic situation we find ourselves in. This is the president talking about that during the State of the Nation address. That bit about he wanting to address the discourse you are referring to. Take a look. We would recall that part of the president's State of the Nation address.
Okay, so let me read out what he said
on taking
whilst we are waiting.
Yes.
So he says, it's probably worthwhile making what I consider to be important observations at this stage on some of the issues in our public discourse in the lead up to the elections for a new president. Then he talks about executive power, rest of the president. Then he goes on. So we are interested in this one, that there's no ambiguity about where the buck stops and when it comes to the responsibility for what happens in the government. That's page 6, the last paragraph. It stops with the president. He or she has ultimate responsibility. Then listen to this. It would be an unwise president that would pretend to have all the answers and refuse the advice of his officials. But the fact remains that the president holds the executive power. It would be an unwise president that would pretend to have all the answers and refuse the advice of his officials. So pundits have made a point, and I agree, that he's referring to Bawumia, because he earlier on said, yes, he says he's referring to what? Discourse. He wants to make some observations about the discourse. So he said it would be an unwise president that would pretend to have all the answers. So is he that referring to Bawumia, or he's saying he's an unwise president? Yes, so it's binary. Either he's referring to Bawumia, or he's saying that he's an unwise president. So we can choose.
Especially because the preceding statement is about a discourse that has been going on.
Yes, exactly. In our lead up, let's read it. In our lead up to the election for a new president. Could you answer first?
Don't worry. Let's play that for you. Take a look at this.
Speaker, the president and appointees are not universally loved. It will be strange and unproductive if they were. It is probably worthwhile making what I consider to be important observations at this stage on some of the issues in our public discourse, in the lead up to the elections for a new president. Under the Constitution, the executive power of the state is vested in the President of the Republic. He or she is the executive. There's no ambiguity about where the buck stops when it comes to responsibility for what happens in the government. It stops with the President. He or she has ultimate responsibility. It would be an unwise president that would pretend to have all the answers and refuse the advice of his officials. But the fact remains that the president holds the executive power.
Well, yes.
Yeah. So that is it. So he says an unwise president. So now the question is that, is he saying he's unwise, or he's saying that Bawumia, the advice Bawumia gave, he took it? It's most likely that he's saying he took the advice of Bawumia, because I'm not sure President Kufuor would like to describe himself as an unwise president. No, not the man that we know. So that's why he's saying that he took the advice. But except that, after saying he's taking all the advice, I find some inconsistency. So let's go back to the point earlier on, that the whole of the majority caucus, 138 MPs, right? 137
independent candidate.
Yes, 137 MPs advise him, sack Ofori-Atta finance minister. You say no, like you won't sack him. Because I say it's only an unwise president who doesn't take the advice of what? His officials. He said it. You can imagine, 137 MPs come and delay charges. You open today Ministry of Finance website, you see Ofori-Atta's company making money when we borrow. So they tell you there's conflict of interest. You say no, you've not seen it. So
this is a matter that you say you will take up.
Yes, no, by this case here, it will go to court. No, when you read the Apalu Commission report, into Kwame Nkrumah's assets, you find that some of the money Kwame Nkrumah spent on justifiably, they still took the houses back and the rest. So we'll take that money back from Data Bank. We will take that money back.
Test the law on this.
Yes, not testing. There is precedent. Apalu Commission report shows that, listen, when you are in public office, it's a position of trust. You can't bring your company to just come and make money willy-nilly. And even it shows that there's an incentive to borrow, because when you borrow, the president's family company makes money. Why are we kids? We will fight that case. So that is the point. He says he's taking all the advice from Bawumia and other officials, but I don't see him taking that advice when it came to sack Ofori-Atta 137 minutes. Also, I don't see that he taking advice when the preamble to our constitution says that what? Sovereignty resides in the people, blah, blah. I want to paraphrase that, the Abraham Lincoln saying, I think you brought it up last 2 weeks or so, that government of the people, for the people, yes, and by the people.
Lincoln's definition of democracy.
Thank you very much. Good. So if the people have told you, the people through their representatives, already NDC wanted Ofori-Atta sacked long ago, then the majority caucus joins in. So the whole of parliament has told you that sack this man. His stay there is inimical. You say no. Then later you come and write a speech and tell us that it's only an unwise president who doesn't listen. Then it means on that score, he's saying he's unwise. But when it comes to Bawumia, he's saying that he took Bawumia's advice.
Okay, well, let me bring in Mr. Alfred Thompson, because you see, there are specific aspects of this speech that Martin Kpebu has made reference to. And I brought in Mariada briefly to talk about corruption, because that was conspicuously missing in that State of the Nation address. And we're talking about the state of the nation. And corruption, obviously, is one of the major issues that sets us back as a nation. Any idea why the president didn't talk about it? I know you're not a speechwriter, obviously, but you're close to government than I am. What happened?
Alfred, good morning once again. To come to traditional month, Memawachi Wajimahinwa.
Yeah.
It's not Yenya, it's Yahinwa. Thank you. You have to learn. I would touch on certain aspects of the SONA, and then when I finish, I would answer your question. One aspect that interested me a lot was the security aspect of the SONA. He talked about the instability within the sub-region and how so far we've done well to make sure that the stability within the country is established. And that is a fact. And it also amounts to the mere fact that we've done a lot of investments into the security services. When you talk about the military, you talk about the police, the visibility that is all over, the total number of bikes, the helicopters and other things that have been bought. And so you see, Parliament approved it for us to look at it. Then he went on to the Boko conflict and how we need to make sure that we get the ears of all the factions over there and also bring it to a resolute conclusion, because at the moment it's quite, it's like it's an ongoing thing and it keeps on coming in and going out and it's not helping the country. He then went out, now dove into the educational aspect of what he started and what he talked about. We talked about spending over, within 2017 to now, we have spent about 114 billion Ghana cedis in the educational sector. When we talk about that, most people think that is about the free SHS, and that is what we spent on free SHS. No, it isn't. When you look at the free SHS, it's about 11% of the total amount, which is about 12.9 billion that has been spent in the free SHS. When you look at the intake that has gone on with the free SHS, you realize that before 2017, we had about 830,000 students in the free in the secondary sector. Now we are talking about 1.45 million students, and it comes to quality, it comes to access, it comes to everything. We have our opponents talking about the quality that even now you realize that they tell you that their exams, they are stealing and they are cheating and they are doing everything that is untoward. But you look at the statistics that we've covered so far and you realize, and I'll make a point here. When they go and sit in the exam room, the question that I have in front of me is different from the question that Martin Kwebu will have in front of him, Alhaji Suhuni will have in front of him, or Professor Jampo will have in front of him. So telling someone that, question 1 is A or question 2 is B cannot be possible. When you look at English language, in 2015, the pass rate was about 45.2%. Today, as we speak, even with the high intake that we've taken, we have 73.11% of students passing. Integrated science, you had 28.7 passing as at 2015. In 2023, you have 66.82% pass rate. In maths, you had in 2015 32.4% passing. Today, as we speak, in 2023, the result shows that 62.23% passed. So it tells you that quality-wise, we are doing well. People have been given a chance to have critical thinking. Robotics is going on there. Everything that needs to make a child stand on its feet is doing well. World Bank projected an estimated learning poverty in the sub-region of about 90%, which means that when you take a child of 10 years, most of them between 1 to 10 children, about 1% can only read and write. Today, as we speak in Ghana, when you take a child of going school age of about 10 years, between 1 to 6 are those who are really able to read. And it tells you that we've improved upon it. Because you are looking at the whole sub-region, you are looking at what is happening in the system. Barrier to education is out because of the free SHS.
No.
And we can tell, barrier to education is out.
Okay,
when you look at the statistics.
Okay, let me tell you this. I don't know if you've seen the latest report by the Africa Education Watch, indicating that even though one of the major objectives of the Free Senior High School policy was to take out that financial barrier, in fact, it has increased access, as you have just indicated.
Yes.
But it still poses a challenge to parents, especially for those who are going to the first year. As much as 4,000 cedis, the least, about 4,400, is what parents spend on their first year students. The continuing students, you have some of them spending at least almost 2,000 Ghana cedis on continuing senior high school students in the free senior high school
Thank you very much.
system.
Thank you very much,
So,
Alfred.
that's another challenge, because what that means is that if a parent, unlike what you started when you started the free SHS, is that all you needed was a trunk and a mattress. If a parent cannot come up with this amount of money, it poses a challenge for their children going to the free senior high school. So there are some challenges in there that have to be addressed, and that's why they talk about a review. But it's one thing that
I'm glad you are bringing that up. It's not a matter of just review. And when you talk about review, we know what our people have said about review. We know what our opponents said when they wanted to review the teacher training and the nursing training allowance. They told us that we were going to review it. And what happened? We saw it cancelled. So when they talk about review, we should be scared. These are people, when they talk about review, they're talking about cancellation. So let us be specific about it. And let us be straight about it. Please don't go there. When you are speaking, I was very quiet.
I'm asking specific questions about specific areas of concern
so
for the policy.
When you let me flow, you've talked about this maybe challenges by some parents who are not. One, the first question I would ask myself, has the policy seen a growth in the admission of students? Yes. From less than about 800,000 to over 1.4 billion. That shows a significant growth. That doesn't mean that there wouldn't be challenges. In this world, nobody can say that everything that you are doing, or if you bring a policy in, everyone will be comfortable with it. No. But you have to find ways and means. And that's why Dr. Bawumia says that we shall improve upon whatever we've had. We will look at it and we'll make sure that everything that we are doing, we are improving upon it. And that is a forward-thinking person. That is a forward-thinking presidential candidate that you have. It tells you that we are serious about what we are doing and we are intentional about what we are doing. When you look at education itself...
Does improvement amount to a review? Because you need to review it to improve it. Or
whilst you are doing it, you are always reviewing. Review doesn't mean that you put a stop to it and just look at it one day and walk away. Whilst they are doing it, they are reviewing to make sure that where are the T's going to be crossed, where are the I's going to be dotted. And that is an ongoing process. So if you go to education, they will tell you that, okay, we found A, we found B, we found C, and this is what you are doing to correct that system. So review is an ongoing process. It's not a one-day process where you say, oh, one day I've come out with A, B, C, D, and I'm done. We're still looking at how best we can make sure that the child who is out there can get the best out of the education that we are looking for. You come to TVET. TVET has also been made free. And people are really, at first, people thought that TVET was for people, dropouts, to use the right word, dropouts. So they didn't want to apply to go into TVET and other vocations that you would see. But now you realize that because of the way it's being fashioned out, the critical thinking, the robotics, the everything that is going into it, now you get people going into TVET and coming out and starting businesses on their own.
What's the level of penetration of robotics in TVET? You just mentioned that. Because I have done some work with the help of Africa Education Watch. You talk about robotics. What is the extent of penetration?
I can get you the figures whilst I can ask for the figures and I can get
you. You don't have it here?
I don't have it in my document here. I didn't know we were going to ask about penetration in various aspects.
You mentioned it.
I'm telling you about what is going on.
I only ask questions based on what you say.
I'm telling you about what is going on now. If I'm going to drill down to the basics, we are not going to leave here today because I have this whole book here.
No, it's okay.
I have this whole book here that I can go through.
When you make a statement, it is my responsibility to ask questions.
I don't dispute that. But what I'm also saying is that we cannot get every basic information here. Whilst you come here, we prepare and come. So what I have is what I'll give you. If you want further and better particulars, I'll send it to you.
You see, this situation with the free senior high school policy is one that, as Lawyer Matikbebo has indicated, has to be continued. No conversation about it being truncated should be even counted.
I'm glad you are saying it has to be continued.
But the review or improvement on it, I think that we've gotten to a point where we're just doubling in a lot of unnecessary politicking.
Are you sure? When people have specifically stated that if I had 2 billion Ghana cedis, I wouldn't put it in free education.
That's, in your view,
that's a former president who said that.
Where you sit,
A month ago, I heard him say he will improve it.
But where you sit,
when we've had over 140 adverts that were killing the free SHS, when we talk about
should
it,
the free
that it is not
be
a good policy
in the current situation?
I am saying that every policy, including the free SHS, would always be reviewed and improved upon.
I want you to take a look
Dr.
at this.
Alhaji Bawumia has stated that he is going to make sure that he improves upon what we have so far. Everything that we are building upon, we are not going to leave it as it is. We are going to improve upon it to make it better and more accessible, and the quality is going to be stronger and higher than what we have today.
Mr. Thompson, hold on a bit for me. Let me do this quickly. Kofi Asare is Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch. He's joining us on Zoom. Kofi, good morning.
Hello, Alfred, and your panel and your audience.
Well, if you could speak up a bit for me. Thank you very much for joining us. So, first of all, based on the research that you conducted, on the minimum, how much does a parent have to spend on their child or their ward going into SHS 1 under the free senior school policy?
Well, at present, our study focused on expenditure from 2017 to 2021-2022 academic year, because that was the period for which the Ministry of Education and Finance had expenditure data. But at present, because we as an organization support students by giving them a scholarship to under their admissions in senior high schools, I can speak to the most recent one in Presec, and then we have spent so far 7,000 cedis to put him in school. And the 7,000 cedis include the cost of prospectus. The prospectus is in excess of 4,000. And then the remaining 3,000 is in respect of provisions, transport, medics, because last 2 weeks he fell sick. We had to send money. The clinic at Presec runs cash and carry. And in many senior high schools, you have to buy your own drugs if you go to the clinic or the sick bay. So without adding even those incidentals, at the point of getting him admitted, at the beginning of the academic year, we spent 7,000 cedis. So that's how much parents spend. And in this same year, government is projecting to spend about 2,400 cedis on the same students. So if you can easily do the permutation. The total cost is about 9,400. And the 7,000 is just for first semester. So if you take out the prospectus cost, which is 45% of this 7,000 per hour research, then it means that at the end of the academic year, parents will likely spend 12,000. And if you are doing 12,000, yeah, because this is semester one. We are in month 3 of semester one.
Mm-hmm.
We are in semester one. So it means that the prospectus cost is 45% of the cost of the annual cost of senior high school education to parents. So if parents spend 7,000 by month 3 of semester, the academic year, obviously at the end of the academic year, parents will spend about 12,000. Okay, and then government is also undertaking to spend 2,400 on each border for the academic year. So it's simply 12,000 versus 2,400. What will happen, or what is likely to happen beyond the 12,000 being paid at minimum for parents, and also the 2,400 being paid by government at maximum for students, is that the trend between 2017 and 2021, 2022 means that government will not spend more than 70%. The Ministry of Finance will not disburse more than 70% of this 2,400. So the maximum you are likely to see is an expenditure of 70% of the 2,400 from the side of government, which may reduce it to somewhere around 2,000. That has been the trend. And then also we are likely to see parents' expenditure rather going up because of inflation and other things. So that is the answer to your question for 2023, 2024. But if I have to stick my answer to the historical facts and not the present, as contained in our study, between 2017 and 2021, 2022 academic year, parents were doing 4,120. Government was doing 1,200. So parents were taking care of 77% of the cost. Government was doing 73% of the cost. Let me explain this. It means that as a result of the introduction of the free senior high school policy in 2017, government took over 23% of the cost originally borne by parents in educating their children in senior high schools. And all this data I'm talking about was obtained from Statistical Service
and also through the costing of various prospectuses obtained from 20 senior high schools across categories, across regions. But bear in mind that in this discussion, some of the years, in the earlier years, government spent more than 100%. For example, in the year one of the free senior high school, where the numbers were low, 400,000, the allocation was 400,000. Government overspent. Okay, so in that year, disbursement was more than 100%.
Right.
But from the third year, disbursement has always been as slow. The lowest disbursement was, I think, in 2021, 2022, which was just a little above 50%. So the challenge has been disbursement.
Right. So, based on this data, means that clearly the financial barrier is still a challenge that has to be addressed in terms of access to free senior high school.
The financial barrier to access is a challenge that has to be addressed, because this study was solely informed by the need to find out why about 10% on the average from the beginning of the policy to 2022 were not honoring their admissions, even though they were placed. Okay, it was in some years it was 13, in some years 11. It had declined to 2% in 2023, but for the period of research, average was 10%. We wanted to find out, and the total was about 190,000 students. And then when we took a deep dive into this, we realized we hit the schools, found out from the senior high schools, some of the students who even though were placed here, they don't honor their admissions. Then they gave us some of the lists. Then we followed up and went to their junior high schools in their communities to find out from their junior high school heads, why did Kofi Menu not go to senior high school? He was placed in this school. Then we got in touch with their parents. This is how extensive the research, and how extensive the conduct of the research.
I see.
Yeah, then we got in touch with their parents, interviewed them. The interviews are in the report. And so that's why we got to find out that the main reason was that they couldn't have enough money to fund the cost of prospectus and also non-prospectus expenditure to honor their admission at first instance. That was the major reason. And if you look at these numbers add up to about 250,000 between 2017 and 2023, even though 2.5 million were able to honor their admission. That's about 10%. But these people we are talking about are people from the low-income quintile household. If you look at GSS data on low-income quintiles, these are households that spend between 8,000 to 5,000 or less Ghana cedis in a year as household expenditure. And you're going to have about 4 to 5 people in this household, not just this candidate. So if you need to spend 7,000 a year, and the whole household income for the year, household expenditure for the year is below 8,000, and it means that you are not likely to go to school. And the people we have in school taking care of them are testaments to this. Without our sponsorship, they couldn't be in school. It is not possible.
Wow.
It's not possible. And the people we interviewed as part of the study, whose details are in the report, we have all their contacts. They still want to go to school. If they have the opportunity of support, they will go to school according to their parents.
I see.
Let me finally say that you are seeing increased numbers, very, very encouraging response to the policy, increased numbers. You are seeing increased numbers, increased subscription, increase in admission rate from 60% to 70%. Looking at secondary education, the admission rate. The enrollment rate at secondary level. You are seeing these encouraging numbers and beautiful numbers, not necessarily because the cost of secondary education has been removed, because this analysis should tell you that there is significant cost.
Indeed.
You are seeing this increased numbers also again because of the free senior high schools intervention, which is the removal of the cutoff for admission to senior high school. Note, anytime we say free senior high school, people think that it's about government paying fees for to go to school free. No. The free senior high school has various interventions. Okay, one includes government government taking care of some costs that were originally borne by parents, which I've explained.
Yeah.
Second includes the removal of the admission cutoffs, because then aggregate 30 was virtually the cutoff. Once you go more than 30 at BC, it was difficult to get placement. And this has been removed. So if you have a grade 50, you will still get placement. So even if you have 54 and you don't have 9 in maths or English, you will still get placement.
Sure.
So once you remove the admission cutoff, if you look at wireless standard grading system, it's like a bell curve. So once you remove it from 30 and then you open it up, you will automatically get more numbers coming in. Now, where were these numbers prior to free senior high school? These were the numbers that were going to private senior high schools because they couldn't enter public senior high schools, which had admission cutoffs. So the parents of these students were having to pay higher amount of money to school to private senior high schools and remedial schools for their parents, for their students to attend.
Okay.
So immediately it was removed. Then the private schools collapsed because the students the parents withdrew their students from these schools. And then they now had an opportunity to put them in public schools and enjoy a significant subsidy from the government. Bear in mind that this came with expansion in absorptive capacity, because the reason why that quota was there initially, the admission quota, the aggregate, the cutoff was there, was basically because we had infrastructural deficits and that the capacity for our infrastructure absorbed that number. So anytime we discuss free senior high school, we must expand the conversation beyond just government absorbing some fees to the other interventions that enhance equitable access. But in terms of significant cost barriers, there exist many of them, which we believe government should consider when it is reviewing the policy, as it promised to the IMF on page 46 of the most recent review report.
Fantastic. Kofi, I do appreciate this input and also joining us this morning, as always. Thank you. Thank you so much for all you do. And so that's Kofi Asare, the Africa Education Award. Maybe in subsequent conversations, we'll also have a discussion about the feasibility of that promise by John Mahama to extend the free senior high school to private schools as well. So that's a statement that has come up as well, but we'll subject it to some conversation, Kofi, later. Thank you very much for joining us. So based on this data, Alfred, it would be incorrect to say that the financial barrier has been taken off, because it makes reference to Ghana Skills Service data and the research of the reality of the situation on the ground, that parents have already spent at least 7,000 cedis on their SHS1 children in school under the free senior high school policy. And all things being equal, maybe spending in excess of 12,000 cedis before the end of the first year. That's concerning. The barrier is still there. Something must be done.
I believe you give me the chance to just flow, and then everybody can do their points well. As I stated, if the difference between 1.4 and 800, that's over 600 children, were sitting at home, what would have happened? These are the questions we should be asking. That what would have happened to those children? What would have been their deficit in society? What would have happened to each and everyone sitting here? Because now we've left people onto the streets to go into a life's journey without knowing where they are heading towards. So if the government has been able to spend a significant amount, over 100 billion in education, and I'll list the things that we've done in education for you to see, and have used about 12.9 billion, that is roughly around, not 11%, but around 9 to 10% from the 1.14 billion or 114 billion that was used in free education. It tells you that government is doing something well. Hitherto, what would have happened? As he said, as you heard him, people would have been spending over 12,000 Ghana cedis for their awards to be going to school. As we sit here, you know very well that even their exams, it got to a time where in this country, where children were denied from going to write exams because they couldn't pay their exams fee or because they owed on their education. So they were not given the chance to go and write exams. As we sit here, today, you can check with the specialty in doctorate that people, their fees are being paid for. As we sit here, you can tell me on authority, I can tell you on authority that the TVET intake is going so high. We have the STEM schools, 10 across the region. About 6 have taken off. 4 are almost at the edge of completion. So it tells you that government is doing a systematic effort to make sure that people or Ghanaians or Ghanaian children are not shortchanged in this country. It's not going to be easy. No one will tell you that the journey is easy. No one will tell you that the journey is smooth. Nobody can tell me that as we do or what we are doing now, if we hadn't done it, the children would have been okay to still go to school. It's not true. Because we saw the drop in the intake of even teacher training and nursing training because someone said that he was going to review it and cut it off. We saw the drop. So if now the intake has gone up and people are turning around, they're coming to say that, yes, we have benefited from A, B, C, D, I think the best thing to do is to say kudos to the government, you are doing well, but still we need more room for improvement. And that more room for improvement, someone has come out to say that, listen, I am going to do it. This is my track record. This is what I'm going to work on to make sure that the children of this country benefit, because they are the most important capital we can ever invest to in a country. Now, let us look at other things that the president talked about. He talked about the 1D, 1F. We talked about over 170,000 jobs within the 1D, 1F, 320 factories built, 211 were newly built factories. Out of that were new factories. 110 were existing factories that have been expanded.
You see, the reason why when you say these things, I keep asking you for straight proof, is that if you talk about 170,000 jobs created
within the 1D, 1F,
within the 1D, 1F, I'll ask you how many of those factories are operational. When was the last time you visited even one of them? Because I have been to.
On my way to Cape Coast every time, I most of the time pass through the Kumfi factory, juice factory.
What is the state of that Kumfi factory now?
It's still growing.
Growing?
Yes.
Do you say it's growing?
It's still growing.
You say you visit there every time.
I said when I'm going to Cape Coast, I pass there. It's at a Kumfi.
When was the last time?
I passed there.
When was the last time you visited a Kumfi?
Sometime late last year. Late last year, I visited the place. They're still producing the juice. Come on.
Last year.
What are we talking about?
No, I'm coming.
We are not saying that it's a dead factory.
No, wait.
It's still growing. It's growing because they are expanding into other juice making aspects.
No,
and that's why I say it's still growing. It's not a factory that once we've invested into it stays at just the juice, the small juice making, and that is it.
I don't dispute that. You are saying you visit the place every time you're on your way.
I said when I'm on my way to Cape.
You say it's growing. And I'm asking you what you mean by the growth, because I have.
Okay, so let me explain the growth to you. What they are producing now, they are still producing, but they are looking at increasing the capacity and other aspects of the juice.
So it's not growing.
When you say growing, what do you mean by growing?
Do you know that
growing means that you are expanding?
Don't worry. That's why I'm asking you if you are aware of the state of affairs of that company today. You are saying that the last time you were there was last year.
Late last year, yeah.
So I will forgive you. But I'm telling you about the reality of that company today.
Have they closed down?
They are having some serious challenges like,
you see?
I'm coming, just like the Casa de Ropa company. It's one of the companies under the 1D1F as well. Do you know that that company is also facing some serious issues?
Yeah, I know they're on hold now. And I know why they're on hold.
They are not operating now.
Yes.
You know about that.
Yeah. Yet the jobs that 170 is part of it.
You know that the Casa de Ropa figures, the employees that they put up is part of the 170,000.
How many employees the Casa de Ropa put up?
It's part of the 170,000.
I'm asking you.
The specifics.
Please, relax.
I'm coming.
You see, when you are bringing some of these things, you also come with specifics.
The last time I checked,
how many?
There were about 48 at least direct employment. And over 150 indirect, together with others, the farmers who were indirect employees.
Have you been to Casa de Ropa factory when they were operating?
I'm coming on. You're already confirming that the company is on hold.
I know Casa de Ropa is on hold.
It's not operating.
No. Yes, when I say on hold,
because 2 weeks ago I was there. But the number of employees that Casa de Ropa had on their payroll, is it part of the 170,000 that the president talked about?
I'm telling you what the president stated. The documents that are there to show that they are operational ones and there are some that are not operating.
So that's what I'm asking. The Casa de Ropa employees who are not working now because the company.
And they are not up to 48 anyway. I've been to Casa de Europa, even when they opened.
No.
I've even slept in the factory.
I would
not even up to
show
48. Yeah.
The reason why I speak to specifics is that I have documents about everything that I'm talking about. That's why when you talked about the companies that are operational, I mentioned them to you and the places that I have been. And you have confirmed that Casa de Europa is on hold.
Yeah.
It's one of the companies on hold.
Yeah.
Together with others.
Are we going to narrow down to just one factory that is on hold, or we
so
have
the
to
170,000?
or we want to continue this
do they
conversation
cover?
because there are so many other things that are here.
Which companies do they cover? The 170,000.
I've told you we have 321 factories that have been built. 211 are new factories and 110 are existing factories now. You want proper details? I will give you proper details.
Okay.
But I don't have specifics here now.
Okay.
Don't you see when we are coming here? We do a little bit of research, like you do, and you are telling me that Casa de Europa, which I know. But that doesn't mean that we have every minute detail that you are holding with us. You ask for better particulars, we will give you. Right. And you have to give us time to do that. Thank you. So I talked after this thing, what do you call it? The 1D, 1F. Now we talked about planting for foods and jobs. Phase 2. You realize, and if I'm lying, you can also check, that import of rice has decreased by 45% as per statistics from the Statistical Service by 2021. And it tells you that the PFJ2 is working well, or PFJ1 worked well for PFJ2 to take off.
The PFJ2 hasn't started.
Hasn't even started.
No, it started. I said PFJ1.
No,
it was
wait,
at the end of
the please, hold on. Let me
just
PFJ. When I said PFJ2, I said PFJ1 has gone well for PFJ2 to start.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, well, there are people who have started on the PFJ2.
No.
You get results from it now.
No. Mr. Thompson, PFJ2 hasn't taken off. That I know for sure.
You know lands have been cleared for some people. You know lands have been cleared for some people.
And that has impacted the rice production.
What did I say about rice production? I talked about PFJ1. When I said, didn't I say PFJ1?
Yes.
I corrected it to PFJ1.
Indeed.
Before you even jumped in. Why are you so Why are you so much in a hurry?
Hold on.
No, you see, he's so much in a hurry.
Sorry, Mr. Thompson, just to say that the PFJ2 hasn't taken off. That's on record. Because this week, I received a document from the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana.
Alfred,
which
you know, some of these interjections delays. I'm telling you that
had a lot of time.
Which time?
No.
The time you had, and what please don't go there. Don't go there.
He has to speak to the issue.
Yes,
so relax.
and the time you gave him and what you are giving me now, with all these interjections,
hold on.
Now, what I'm saying, I said rice production or rice importation has reduced by 45% since 2021. When I use the word 2020, I should tell you straight away. So when I escape and I say PFJ2 and I correct myself to PFJ1, it should tell you straight away that don't jump into conclusions and say that, PFJ2 hasn't started. PFJ2 has started because lands are being cleared. Right. Farmers are being helped.
Okay.
And so when you say something has started, it has kicked off. Once it's been launched, people can get their lands being cleared so that they are given the seedlings and everything to start planting. And I don't see anything wrong with that. So let us be specific about some of these things.
Okay.
Now, you know that we are making agri very attractive by working. We have the self-sufficient zones that we are doing, the Afram Plains, Chopoli, Kumewu, Krachi, and some other places. We are looking at soya bean, we are looking at maize, we are looking at tomatoes, and even rice, as we say. But it begs the question for all of us to be asking that, listen, what the president said, or what he's come to give, the state of the nation. You know, people have their varied interest and what they need.
Right.
Somebody will be okay that, listen, he's worked on rail lines. I can get some jobs over there to do. Some will be interested in, he's worked on agriculture, he's worked on education. So everybody and what they need. But questions that we should ask, have we initiated or overseen the construction and rehabilitation of a lot of rail lines, more than any other government since the independence? And you can talk about the Achimata and Sawam, Accra Tema, Kojo Krom Takwa, Kojo Krom Manso, and Tema Mpakadan. Have we extended rural telephony more in the network more than any other government since 1992? And we say yes. NDC, before they left office, had increased it to 78 sites. Today, as we speak, as at the end of 2020, it was 1,008 sites.
Okay.
As we speak, we have added, or we are adding by the end of this year, we should add 1,006 new sites to it, which tells you that over 2,000 sites are being built under the NPP. Have we constructed more public libraries since 1992? And it's yes. We have increased the total number of public libraries from 61 in 2017 to 115 in 2023. We have initiated 702 cyber labs in public schools and 81 communities since 2017. Now, when you come to even the free laptops, that's my brother and his team want to now go and do. We've given free laptops to students, free internet to more than 700 schools, secondary schools across, across Ghana.
It's some of these things that, you see, when you say then, I am also aware of some data, that's when I would come in.
Yeah.
You know,
bring your data.
Have you visited the schools to find out whether this free Wi-Fi is working?
Even my house, before I left this morning, I had challenges with MTN. It goes off and on.
No.
We all know what is going on.
No.
But you cannot say that. Has it been provided or not? When you went for your info check,
relax.
Was it provided or not?
Mr. Thompson, it's one thing going to install Wi-Fi connectivity, and it's another thing it working and providing the service for which it has been installed for. So I can tell you that data that has been gathered by Africa Education Watch as well is that a number of the schools that have been...
I've just received a message from the Ekunfi. I can give you the number of the Citrus manager to call him. So that everybody, yeah, I'm giving you this and that. They are watching, and they've said that the factory is still operational.
No one has said it's not operational.
When I said it's expanding,
it's growing.
When I said it's growing, what is wrong with that?
Okay. No, you see, let me tell you this.
You are doing as if Ekunfi has closed down.
No, nobody said that. It is
no, you don't need to say it, but your insinuations means that Ekunfi is not working. It's not functional. Because you said that, have I visited there? Do I know what is happening there?
No. I was specifically asking you about Casa de Europa, which you confirmed
you asked Ekunfi first.
Don't worry.
You asked Ekunfi first.
Which you confirmed that it is on hold. Ekunfi, you said it is growing. That's what I interrogated you on. And you agreed that that's not what is the reality of the situation.
What is not the reality?
What I'm saying now, I said it's
growing.
Free Wi-Fi bit.
So the free Wi-Fi. Have you visited the schools? Do they have free Wi-Fi or not?
No, it's not about the installation. Is it working?
Do they have free Wi-Fi? The first question you should ask yourself, do they have free Wi-Fi or not?
But the Wi-Fi being installed and it not working,
let's be realistic.
What good does it make?
If we've installed something and you say we haven't installed, it's a different thing. We have done it. Now, Wi-Fi has its own challenges. When we had some challenges within my area of Bojo, I'm telling you that MTN, the Wi-Fi I'm using today, 2 days ago, since 2 days now, it's not working. They came to fix it, it's gone down again.
Okay.
So I cannot even connect my Wi-Fi there. That doesn't mean I have not installed Wi-Fi in my house. There are two different things. Well, if there are challenges, if there are challenges, let us look at the challenges and work it out.
Thank you. I'll forward some information to you, and thank you very much. We'll get to the other aspects.
Let me finish on this one. There are over 20 things that he's talked about.
Yes, that will be segmented. Thank you. We'll get to the doom of it. Thank you.
Lawyer, why you have interjected more than 3 or 4 times.
Thank you. Now, before I come to Suini, let me state this. Last year, July, the Africa Education Watch Education Alert Policy Brief. Between May and June, the rapid survey of 150 senior high schools with a response rate of 92% revealed that about 78% of the senior high schools did not have functioning Wi-Fi. That's number one. 2, only 22% of senior high school had functioning Wi-Fi. 3, of the senior high schools without functioning Wi-Fi, 55% had experienced downtime for about a year. 4, of the senior high schools without functioning Wi-Fi, 36% had experienced downtime for about 6 months. Now, free Wi-Fi, where available and accessible, facilities research, administrative communications, and teaching, was also not functioning. So something needs to be done because
so
we are paying
tells
for
you
it.
that
It's not free.
The Wi-Fi has been installed, but there are challenges, and that cannot beg the question.
Let me bring you in at this point.
You were
away from that. You were before.
But the Wi-Fi
is installed for decoration.
Okay, no, that's okay.
So if you install a light in your house and the light goes off, would you say that you haven't installed?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Has it been done? Yes or no?
Yes.
Has it been done? Yes or no?
I think this conversation.
Someone said I'm not going to install. He doesn't know that we've done it. And these are the things we should question. That they don't even know what is happening in the country.
Thank you.
But this conversation actually reminds me of the point I have made about this government many times on different platforms. The fact that sometimes they approach governance like a project with an unmindful outcome. So it's a project. There are boxes to be ticked. And so they tick the box. They don't care whether the box ticked actually leads to, any impact in society. And I made this point when Imani did the tracking of promises. And I said sometimes it's just like, oh, we have done this. So like Wi-Fi, we have installed Wi-Fi. Box ticked. As to whether it is making the impact that Wi-Fi is supposed to be making, Mr. Thompson says you shouldn't raise that question. The point is
that is not what I said.
Have done it.
I said we have done it. If there are challenges, we look at the challenges and the
point. They have done it.
Let us
but anyway.
Let him move on. Did I ever say here that we should say that, we've done it, so no one should it? Right. I said that we've done it. But if there are challenges, let us look at it and address it.
Okay.
Let me begin by just making some few interventions relating to some of the comments that were made earlier. For example, Mr. Thompson talks about barriers to education being fully removed, and I'm happy you got Kofi to educate all of us and make the point that about 200,000 JHS graduates who had admission to senior high school were still unable to report to the schools that they had admissions to. So and that should tell you that the barriers haven't been removed. And he has actually explained that government spends only about 23% on students, as against 77% that is spent by parents. And so, for example, like the breakdown that
he likes that.
I mean, can you be a gentleman like I was when you were speaking? Right. Thank you. So you see, clearly the breakdown shows that government spends like 1,002 on every child, and parents still spend like 4,000. And like he took his time to explain to us, the financial barrier still exists, and it has to be removed. I was surprised when I heard Mr. Thompson talk about a figure of 114 billion that has been spent on education. And I thought it was in the president's SONA, because I have read the statement that the president delivered a couple of times, and I didn't see any such figure. But off air, when I asked him, he said that figure is from another source. However, know that based on Africa Education, Education Watch research, it's revealed, or it established, that 7 billion Ghana cedis over the period was what has been earmarked for free SHS. And out of the 7 billion, only about 5 billion was actually expended. And the breakdown is there. And I want us to take note of these figures, because we will soon come to how much this government has actually raked by way of just tax revenue alone, over the years, just tax revenue. And so when you hear that 5 billion has been spent on free SHS, you need to remember that to whom much is given, much is expected. And when we look at the trajectory of tax revenue, not other sources of revenue, just tax, how much you and I have paid tax to government, you realize that 5 billion is just a drop in the ocean when it comes to the investment in the area of education.
Okay.
Then Lawyer Martin also spoke about the president saying that the Constitution has served us well. Indeed, to some extent, I mean, comparatively, the president may be right, because our previous constitutions did not last this long. You know, so comparatively, you can say that this has endured more than other constitutions.
But has endured for long.
Can I finish? But I agree that we need to tweak our constitution. But I continue to caution that the bigger part of our problem in this country, in my view, is not the constitution. It's not about the text in the constitution.
What is it?
It's about the people we put in office, the character of the people we put in office, their ability to be disciplined. Because lawyers, being who they are, will always push the law to its limit. They may not break it. And so it will not matter, even if we review this constitution and make it watertight, if we still put characters or people in office who lack discipline, who lack morals, the weakness of that document will be exposed again. Because, I mean, until President Akufo-Addo became president, some of the abuses that we have seen him engage in the name of the Constitution, were not carried out by presidents before him. I mean, for example, the number of ministers. Yeah, you're asking what abuses. The number of ministers.
The limits to number of
exactly. But the fact that the Constitution, that's what I'm talking about, the character of the people you put in office. The fact that the Constitution didn't state a limit. Previous presidents with character and morals and discipline did not take the number to 120. So
126.
Yeah, 120 plus. So it is not about the text, it's about the discipline of the person in office. So we need to be, even when we finish a constitutional review, which I support, we should not go to sleep. When it comes to putting people in office, we should still be able to examine their character and their ability to be disciplined before we put them into office. Because even after a constitutional review, if we still put people who are not disciplined in office, they will still abuse the constitution that we put in place. But that's an aside. Let's look at the SONA as presented by His Excellency the President. And I like doing comparisons, because that is how you are able to determine a trend, to make sense out of what is happening. So the president came into office in 2017, and that's when he delivered his first State of the Nation address. Nothing was expected of him in terms of successes. He was just to tell us his vision and his dream of the Ghana that he had been given the opportunity to lead. And so I will start from the, statement that he delivered to Parliament in 2017. I'll just share maybe a paragraph with you. Quote, 2017 SONA. Mr. Speaker, low growth, rising rate of unemployment, and please take note, low growth, rising rate of unemployment, high fiscal deficits, high and rising debts, and increased depreciation of the cedi, high cost of food, housing, and utilities, and high non-performing loans, among others, are symptoms of deeper structural problems that will require a range of reforms. These were the problems he identified in 2017 that he was going to fix. And he said, beginning immediately and spanning the short, medium, and long terms, we are going to have to implement some tough, prudent, and innovative policies to get out of this financial cul-de-sac and rescue this economy. That was his promise. Restore fiscal discipline. That was his promise. And debt sustainability, as well as increase economic growth. Those were his promises. And he ended with a pledge, quote and unquote, I will not allow this economy to collapse under my watch. This was the dream that the president had. This was what, he promised this nation. And in his last year in office, this is the standard we should be holding him to when he comes again to give a State of the Nation address.
You have said it all. It's okay.
I shouldn't proceed, right?
Yeah, you don't have to proceed.
I shouldn't proceed.
Yes,
thank you. Thank you. Now, Prof. So clearly, you can tell that 8 years of this so-called...
He did the first 4 years.
Okay,
Alfred, what is wrong with you? Why are you jittery?
I'm not jittery.
Can you be a gentleman?
Hold on,
No,
hold
you
on,
should
hold
not,
on,
you should
hold
not
on.
spin like
You see, hold on.
He has the first 4 years and the second 4 mandates.
please.
Well, okay.
So let's deal with this.
See, Alfred, 8 years.
4 years. What happened? Tell me the 4th year.
Mr. Thompson,
you don't. Are you the one who set the standard of my conversation?
Let me just.
I mean, when you are speaking, you know I can help. You know, for the respect I have for the viewers, when you are speaking, I didn't mind you. Why are you embarrassing yourself in this matter?
No, please let him finish.
Because it hurts so much, you have to embarrass yourself.
Hold on.
I'm not here to at all. I'm not here.
Don't worry.
I've not even started my analysis. I just quoted the president.
No.
And you are already jittery.
Hold on. Mr. Thompson, I would urge you
Seriously.
to keep your cool. I reserve the right to ask questions. Kindly.
I just quoted the president, Mr. Alfred.
It is not helping.
I mean, Mr. Thompson.
Alfred,
Thank
I'm
you.
coming.
Yes.
I'm coming.
Well,
Please, you are not coming. You have had so much time. Please respect yourself. Respect yourself.
Why is it like it's 4 against 1?
I mean, no, why is this behavior is
I'll come to you.
Why is it like it's coming? I said before he comes, you give everyone that chance. You give everyone that chance. Why can't you do that to me? That before he comes, let me say something.
I will come to you. Yes, Allah Hussein.
Everyone is watching. They
Who
can
are the
see.
4 against 3? 1, 2, 3, 4 against 1.
I
have not spoken.
You
don't need to speak to show.
Don't worry. Don't sustain this.
When you are doing it, you see no one is talking.
So you see, Alfred, that was the president in 2017. Now, 8 years on, after implementing his prudent, his innovative policies to get us out of the financial coup d'etat, as he himself put it, the result that we can all see is that despite the pledge that the economy will not collapse under his head or under his watch, and despite an unprecedented tax revenue of more than 298 billion over the years, plus other, tax expansion policies that he inherited from his predecessor. Today, we can all safely but uncomfortably say that the economy has collapsed under his watch. The Bank of Ghana, that was supposed to be, if you like, play in the thick of affairs as far as fiscal prudence is concerned, engage in illegal printing of money for this government to continue its unbridled expenditure, and as a result, for the first time, posted a loss of over 60 billion Ghana cedis. Alfred, inflation is at an all-time high. We all know that. Nobody needs to tell us this.
Over the period.
Yes,
it's
but
still high.
But you see,
reduced.
Okay, I'll come to inflation. Let me rather even go to growth. The president spoke about them. Growth is lower than he inherited. Unemployment, despite all the interventions and the lies about 1D1F creating 170,000 jobs, even on this set, it is revealed. He admits that Casa de Ropa is not working. Casa, or is it Casa de Ropa? Casa de Ropa is not working. Yet, the number of people it is supposed to have employed is part of the so-called 170,000. Again, a watermelon factory that they added as part of the completed factories, the 300 in Waliwali, was recently exposed by the media as being non-existent. They haven't even started work on it at all. But it's supposed to create jobs, and so they have added that too. He just told us about Ekunfi, and I'll urge him and others to go online and Google the 1D1F documentary, and you will see the state of all these so-called 1D1F factories. But despite all of these interventions, the point I'm making is that unemployment under his watch, which he complained about in 2017, has increased from about 6.8% to 14% today, almost double. Youth employment is even higher. So that is, like your colleagues say on your set, his scorecard. After 8 years, debts that he complained about in 2017 has moved from the about 150 billion figure 12 over 600.
The
point is that what he said he was going to achieve for us, he has messed up rather what he came to meet. Depreciation of the city. In that quote, he complained about the depreciation of the city and that he was going to fix that. At that time that he was lamenting, the cedi was $1 to 3.8 cedis. I mean, $1 was selling at 3.8 Ghana cedis. That's what I mean.
Take it to even 4.
Yes, I can even give it 4. Today, $1 is 13 Ghana cedis. Inflation. Yes, it may have gone to 54 and come down. But Alfred, what we miss in that conversation is that if something was selling for 100 Ghana cedis and inflation moved to 54%, what it meant is that which you bought for 100 Ghana cedis was now going to be sold to you at 154. If inflation within the period drops to 23 Ghana cedis, you are now going to calculate the 23% on the 154 Ghana cedis, which means that you will now be buying it for close to 180 Ghana cedis. Have you gone or have you come? Doesn't matter if it has dropped. Because you no longer get it at 100 Ghana cedis. You will not even get it at 154 Ghana cedis again. You now get it at 180 Ghana cedis. So have you gone or come? And yet, in 2017, he told that he was going to fix the problem of inflation. And no wonder, today, 1 pound of chicken, in 2016, that was 6 Ghana cedis. That's frozen chicken. 6 Ghana cedis. Today is about 37 Ghana cedis. 1 pound. That was 6 Ghana cedis. No wonder that 5 kilograms Gino rice, that used to be sold at 25 Ghana cedis, is now being sold around 170 Ghana cedis. And it may be higher. And viewers can testify
the problem
to this.
With the poultry industry in the State of Nation address.
Yes, but it doesn't change the state of the people. Acknowledging the problem does not, it actually rather, highlights the fact that people are going through excruciating hardship. Prof, when we were in school, students of Legon, if you couldn't afford anything for your bossing partner, at least you could get papaya. Papaya, the pack you can get.
I mean,
because it was sold at 8 Ghana cedis.
Go down on the brand.
Thank you.
I would have to,
you have to send me an invoice. Forgive me. But at least you could buy that one, and it was 8 Ghana cedis. Today, it is 64 Ghana cedis a pack. That is what we say when we speak of the impact of inflation and the fact that this economy has collapsed under His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo. Now, again in 2018, the president spoke highly about fighting corruption. In fact, he praised Mr. Martin Amidu and described him as a man with integrity. I was trying to see if I could find the exact quote used to extol the virtues of Mr. Martin Amidu when he spoke about how he was going to deal with corruption using the Special Prosecutor's Office and his hope in Mr. Martin Amidu. In 2019, this was 2018, Martin Amidu. 2019, he talked about the Auditor General's reports and how the situation was unacceptable and how audits are important. Fast forward, Mr. Martin Amidu describes him as a mother serpent of corruption. That Auditor General's whose work he was bragging about, according to the Supreme Court, was illegally forced out of office. And so no wonder that in 2024, the president doesn't mention the word corruption throughout his about 2-hour speech. He can't. Because apart from all these, things that he has done, and the report that he's mother serpent of corruption, the CDD, the Transparency International and others, have all confirmed the fact that his administration is the worst in the history of the Fourth Republic when it comes to dealing with corruption. And so I'm not surprised that he did not touch on corruption. Another interesting point that I took note of is the attempt to exonerate his aplanke, Dr. Mahmoudou, which in another way, if you look at it, is a jab, like lawyer Martin Kebu said.
Why do you say it's a jab?
You see,
the man is saying he's taking responsibility.
You see, the president told us something in 2018, and I'm trying to find it. He talked about the role of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in his economic management team and how that helped them to, improve the economy at the time. He, as usual, extolled his virtues and spoke highly of his intelligence in leading the economic management team. He told us this in the State of the Nation address in 2019. He spoke about how Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was living up to expectation and doing very well in advising them on the economy. Only for him to now come and say that, quote, the cabinet, the ministers of state all act in an advisory manner. Of course, a member of the government might take an idea, be it generated by the president or the official or a committee, and turn it into a huge success, and the honors will be claimed or shared where public perception falls. But ultimately, the president is responsible and therefore takes the credit or the blame for whatever happens in his or her government. And that is at the end of the quote. Now, this is supposed to be in line with what Dr. Mahmoudou said when he addressed the nation on his vision.
Is he wrong?
And then he said that as chairman of the economic management team, he's proud of the advice they gave. But he disagreed with many government policies, as he himself indicated. Like the e-levy, he disagrees. He's going to review it. And size of government, he disagrees. Then he ends by telling you that he's proud of the, advice that they have been giving the government, subtly suggesting that the advice have not been taken. And we have seen other, hide commentators trying to convince us that it is the case. But the president, in this statement, also tells us that it will be an unwise precedent. That's where I say it's like a jab. Whereas Dr. Mahmoudou, his aplanke, is trying to tell us that he's proud of the advice he has given, and because those pieces of advice were not taken, when he becomes president, he will implement them. The president is telling us that it will be unwise for a president not to take advice from the people. So this attempt to exonerate Dr. Mahmoudou also falls flat on the face. And maybe it is high time that the government machinery understand that the flight from responsibility is not going to take them anywhere at all. So, Alfred, the point is clear that His Excellency President Akufo-Addo and his government have lived below or performed below expectation. Expectations that they themselves set for us, like I have just read in his 2017 State of the Nation address, and have performed below that expectation. And so when people, disappoint you and make you lose hope, it is unreasonable to still want to keep them around. And that is why I'm very confident that the people of Ghana are discerning, and no matter the theatrics and the propaganda that they engage in, they will still not be saved. I think that His Excellency, the President, failure to address unemployment, which he said was his biggest headache, is simply because the figures show his failure. His inability to speak about corruption, which again he set as a standard to deal with in his government, is simply because the records show that he is the worst when it comes to fighting corruption in the history of the Fourth Republic. And clearly, the economy that he said was not going to collapse under his watch, by all indication, has collapsed under his watch, and that is why we are even unable at this point to service our debts. And it has become, you know, a chest-beating exercise, even when we are able to pay coupon, you know, that are due, coupons that are due. I mean, can you imagine that?
Well, Martin, you confirm that there is no agitation.
No, but you see, Alfred, I'm saying that across the world, it's a given that when you invest in government bonds, you are assured of payment. So it's a given. If it has become, you know, a chest-beating thing for a government to do, it should tell you how low we have sunk. I mean, you came up with your tax handle, ESLA, and you told us that you are getting this amount every, you know, month from this tax handle. The tax has not been reduced. The tax has not been removed. It is still there. And you assured us that if we bought bonds, we're going to get paid. We bought the bonds. The tax hasn't reduced. It's still there. You are unable to pay. You have deferred principal payment. And then when you make one coupon payment, it is a matter of celebration. It tells you how low we have sunk.
Well, guess what? There's an issue that actually came up while you were debating the State of Nation address. That's the lights that went off. The ECG says, as for Parliament, your case is different, that you owe them. The last time we checked, that money has been paid, because apparently you pay through the gift me system and it takes a certain period for it to reflect. So at the time you were disconnected, some monies had already been paid but had not reflected in the ECG system. But that situation goes beyond just Parliament, because a number of people are experiencing the outages. Yeah. And I'm going to go for this quick way because Professor Jampo has his take on this.
Oh, I told you I was going to wrap
up
on it.
Bebuachi will join us briefly on this matter. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. This point here on TV3. Also live on 3FM 92.7. We'll be back shortly.
We know the dream is big. We know the passion gets you going. And you have the potential to make great strides. The Chartered Institute of Marketing, Ghana, has always been an avid supporter of industry excellence and innovation. This is why we are excited to announce the CIMG Professional Marketing Qualifications. CIMG has designed practical courses to help you make that dream a reality right here in Ghana. We are geared up and ready to support you on this journey to becoming a world-class professional marketer. Register today and be on your way to greatness. For more information, call us on 055-274-6592. Visit our website www.cimghana.org or email us on info@cimghana.org. Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, working for Ghana.
You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
The news never stops. If it's not breaking, developing, the news lends itself to significant analysis, broad context through explainers, and the features that give stories more life. That's what we offer on Weekend Central. News, features, analysis, the full package. Weekend Central, Saturdays and Sundays at 12 p.m. on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
The 3FM Gobe Festival 2024. Gobe Lovers and Gobe Eaters Association. Time now so. Get ready for the biggest Gobe event in Ghana on Saturday 16th March at the Accra Mall Interchange Park from 9 a.m. Come experience a food festival interlaced with fun activities and music performances like never before. Be there to savor different flavors and combos of Gobe like Gobe and rice or Gobe and kenke. Throw some pepper on the side, avocado in the center circle, and eggs on the top corner. Alright, Pardon? Last year was terrific. This year will be a showdown. Don't miss out on the gastronomic delights and vibrant atmosphere. Are you a Gobe seller or you know anyone? Call now to register 0532 200 927 or 0531 100 927. Let's link up. The 3FM Gobe Festival 2024. Your Gobe joint the B. Join us on Saturday 16th March at 9 a.m. and let's transform the Accra Mall Interchange Park into a Gobe lovers paradise. 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio station.
Sponsored by Glovo App, Bigo Drinks, Inkulenu Foods, Fidelity Bank, Gino Tomato Paste, Dewa Chop Money, Flora Tissues, Sankofa Natural Spices.
Yo, people, who them say them bad? Original bad man, they boy. The vibes killer, dancehall Jehovah. The man them sail down the road, but him not a filling station.
This week, we're turning up the heat with freestyle that will have all families moving and grooving in a spectacle. It's a tenacious tension of beats that will hit you from your homes.
Jesus Christ, sneakers, nice, checks, Nike.
Make a date with us this Saturday, 2nd March, and catch all the fun. Big O Family Dance, big up your moves.
Big O Family Dance Season 2 shows Saturdays at 8 p.m. on TV3.
Welcome to the pre-independence episode, special edition of Day Trust.
My dear, you're my banana, okay?
Wow.
You're my banana, sweet, sweet banana.
Hello, Fresh Boy. Please, all of them here and the studio audience, they all know that you are my spec.
When God created Adam and removed one of his rib and created Eve, these are the creatures in the Garden of Eden. I'm your Eve. We are pairing.
Please, can you share your Momo pin and maybe phone password with me?
Date Rush shows every Sunday at 8 p.m. on TV3. Don't miss it. Date Rush is sponsored by Heaven Black Mosquito Spray and Coil and Napa Foods.
Dewa Chop Money.
Feel Moisturizer.
Obuasi Bitters.
Close-Up Complete Fresh Protection. Geisha Moringa and Geisha Black Soap.
Remy Spices.
Stop Cough from Ernest Chemist.
Okay, let's go top. She's on the top.
When I come? When? We are come.
Well, so that's what happened in Parliament when they were also debating the State of the Nation address, the details of it, which we have been talking about as well. Now, Professor Ransford Jampo is here. Now, I'll have Bambuachi, who is Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, joining us. Prof. Okay,
I will make some preliminary remarks before I go to the sooner. With the greatest of respect, we wake up early in the morning to come and sit here.
Indeed.
I'm traveling to my hometown. Okay, but I came to sit here. There's been about over 2 hours. I've not said anything. And then discussions are going on, and and people are texting me, what are you sitting here for?
Prof, let me do this.
So no, I want to make a suggestion that when we come in here, maybe you give us...
I think you said that, and I've taken note.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Minutes.
Let me do this quickly.
He doesn't want me to...
Mr. Bambuachi, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
So I shouldn't talk?
No, don't. Mr. Wati, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning, Alfred.
Yes, quick one. What is the situation with this intermittent power outages we've been experiencing? For at least some people, for the past 1 month, they say. The ECG says that the recent one was because of some maintenance challenges. What is the reality of the situation that you have observed at ASEP?
Yes, thanks, Alfred, and good morning to Prof and colleagues in the studio. I think, the reality is that there are shortfalls. We don't have enough generation, largely due to some maintenance work that are going on some of the plants, and also fuel to switch some plants from gas to liquid, because we don't have enough gas at this point. Demand has grown to surpass the gas supply volumes, and therefore, currently at every point, we need some amount of liquid fuels to be able to generate the needed power to supply. We've also seen some decline on the hydro side because Bui is not producing as much as it should. It was overdrafted, which means that they put more pressure than required to make it generate more power to the extent that now they have to shut some of the turbines. So the situation is that there is some deficit in generation, and the way to deal with that is to shed load. And therefore, they have been shedding the load to make sure that the system does not crash.
The ECG board says there's enough power to supply to Ghanaians, and that Ghanaians should pay the bills. That's the issue. So that's in sharp contrast with what you're saying.
No, I think that cannot be the reality. The reality of the matter is that we don't have enough to distribute, and he knows that. He knows clearly that there are shortfalls. In some instances, we're supposed to even shed around 600 megawatts of power. And in most cases, what they've resorted to is to abdicate the responsibility to other nations, Togo, Benin, Burkina Faso, where we've been exporting power. So if we don't have enough, then they cut supply to those countries so that we can reduce the burden on the local economy. So we've been cutting supply to those countries to be able to manage the load. And even with that, we've been shedding an average of 250 to 300 megawatts of power, intermittently. And the implications are dire, really, because for the export market, if you look at the revenues that come from the export market, that is essentially what is sustaining Gridco and VRA, because ECG don't pay them those entities much money. And if you're not paying those entities and they get some cash flow from the export market and suddenly they don't have energy to export, it means that we have to find money for them. And if we don't, then it means that maintenance and also service improvement by these companies will be impacted. And because they are state entities, they don't cough, they don't talk, and we will live only to experience effect on these companies.
Well, but Mr. Bachi, Mr. Jampo and Professor Jampo, I beg your pardon, and many others are saying this. Would it be prudent for us to have, I'm talking about electricity consumers, to have a timetable because of what's been happening so that it would help us manage our own lives and to know when the lights will go off and come back on, instead of what we're experiencing now, that there are unannounced power outages which disrupt a lot of business activities and even individuals' own schedules?
No, that's exactly what has to happen, because people need to plan their lives. And when you really know that you're going to take down the power, you're going to cut supply, you have the responsibility to the people to be able to inform them, let them know that their light is going to go off, particularly when you are running prepayment systems, right? We pay you ahead in advance to get the power. You can't give me the power. Just let me plan my life. If I have an alternative, and go for it. That one, too, you won't tell the people. And it's a concern. We need to know, especially when it's become recurrent, because we know that we can trend it at least for the past 1 month, if not, before that they've been shedding load. So once you know that you're going to be shedding load, inform the people. If you get enough generation and you don't even take off the light, at least they were prepared for the eventuality. So it's prudent to get the people aware rather than just taking off the light and people running around to make sure they can get fuel to run their generators and the rest of it.
Mbemboache, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mbemboache is the Secretary of the Africa Center for Energy Policy. So it is indeed the case, as Prof was saying, that a timetable is needed. I mean, you've had your own share of experiences with this Dumsor situation, isn't it?
Well, Alfred, thank you. Just a general suggestion, like I said, let us have apportioned time for ourselves. You have 10 minutes, you have 10 minutes, you have 10 minutes, you have 10 minutes, and then we go and come. Okay, so that some of these things will not because honestly, I'm not too happy. I'm not too happy. It's 9:21, and it's like I have a lot of things to say, but I cannot be rushed into forcing all into one. Yes. And so maybe let others have their take. Let it be that I couldn't say anything. Because, but I have a lot of things to say about Sona.
Hold on, please. Let's Prof.
I have a lot of things to say about Sona. But you let me put Sona aside and make some preliminary remarks. Maybe in protest that we should apportion our time such that the politicians would not be treated, they will not be given more time than those of us who also come
have run us aground with their lies and lies.
The first preliminary remark that I want to make is that as a country, let us move away from the governance practice that allows politicians to come and talk about what they have done to the practice that allows the citizens to rather give testimonies about what has been achieved in their lives. As a nation, if you are serious about our quest to develop, let us move away from the practice where politicians are given the opportunity to come and sing their own praises to the practice where the citizens are themselves allowed or given the opportunity to testify about what they think has been done. So the point is that where there's been true achievements, achievers don't talk. It is beneficiaries who testify. Where there's been true achievement, achievers don't talk. It is the beneficiaries who testify. So I went to somebody's country. They are not talking about what they have achieved. It is me who went there who is talking about what has happened. And that is what we refer to, that is the behavior that people resort to when a country has been properly governed. We define good governance as being the effective and efficient management of scarce resources to translate into developmental outcomes that are tangibly reflected in the lives of the people. So when developmental outcomes are tangibly reflected in the lives of people, you don't go about touting, I've done this, I've done. The people themselves, which one do you prefer? The one that the politician is telling you that he has done, and the one that the people themselves are saying that we know. That was the reason for Kufuor's cliche, okay? Kufuor wanted us to move away from the practice of listening to what governments claim to have done
to an area or a situation where the people themselves will examine their lives, their conditions, and then based on that, they will exercise their franchise. Very important. The second preliminary remark is to disagree forcefully, like others have done, that the 1992 Constitution has served us well. No. Anybody who says the Constitution has served us well fundamentally does not even understand the principles and dogmas of constitutionalism. And let Ghanaians know, President Akufo-Addo, with the greatest of respect to you, when the 1992 Constitution was being reviewed, you were consulted by the Constitutional Review Commission. And because I played a role behind the scene, I was working with Jim Mensah, who was a commissioner, we know your comments are you prophet. Okay, it's becoming one too many that when people are in opposition, they say one thing, when they get to government and power is sweet, they also change their tune. The 1992 Constitution was not fashioned or prepared to promote constitutionalism. Jerry Rawlings had ruled Ghana for over close to 20 years. He openly had said that he was not a fan of multi-party democracy. He didn't want to hand over power. Okay, but it got to a time, pressures from international community, pressures from pro-democracy forces said that, look, you have to democratize because we have something we call application of political conditionality. It was simple. If you do not democratize, you cannot have access to aid. So Rawlings was forced to democratize, retire from the military and to supervise an election in which he himself was the referee, the footballer, the linesman, and the match commissioner. Those preparing the constitution for him told him that, look, Mr. Rawlings, we are preparing a constitution that would make you govern as if you are in a military era. That's how come the Constitution grants all powers to the executive arm of government. And when we talk about constitutionalism, we are talking about the putting in place of mechanism that checks the exercise of powers. The 1992 Constitution does not promote constitutionalism because it rather expands the frontiers of powers, to the executive arm of government. And as I've always said, it makes the president a political King Kong. Now, so for the president to say that the Constitution has served us well and all, I mean, it's problematic. Why did we all come together as a nation to embark on a process of constitution review? Or if they have forgotten, the Constitutional Review Commission, the MPP was represented by no mean a person than the venerable, the late Akintin Apiaminka. He represented the MPP on that process. Now we've gone through that process, it terminated, then we've gotten to a place where because of the problem of power discontinuity, discontinuity of projects of predecessor government, we have abandoned that project. And then now we are talking about the Constitution having served us well. It is not even about the person who operates the Constitution. Human beings are not angels. So you must always put in place mechanism. Because, like I said, anybody who exits power, okay, sees the flaws in the Constitution. But if you are in power, because it gives you all the powers, then you want to behave like, all is well. All is not well with our Constitution, and I've always argued that one day somebody should be able to go to court to charge somebody in the current administration for having caused financial loss to the state, for abandoning the constitutional review process in spite of the huge sums of money that was expended in that process. Now, on the SONA, let me state right from the outset that it was a constitutional requirement that the president sought to meet. And in my view, I don't want to sound like the way Martin said, I want to do an analysis. Okay, if you say before you criticize, you must praise, then it creates an impression in the minds of people that you just want to criticize and you are just using your praise as a veneer. But in any meaningful analysis, you appreciate the fact and the point that there cannot be only one side to a coin. Okay, so for me, I cannot speak without looking at all sides. So first of all, to my mind, I think that, yes, the president met his constitutional obligation, and I felt that he was also quite sober and calm. I don't know whether it was because of the belief that, or the reality that he was exiting that made him that. So he sounded very sober, calm, and quite remorseful of our economic miserization. And for the first time, I didn't hear the president blaming our challenges on COVID.
Is there?
He mentioned, but not.
Is there?
He
mentioned COVID, but is there?
I didn't hear them. Well, COVID and then Russia, Ukraine crisis. And he appeared to have taken full responsibility of whatever was good in his government and whatever is bad, and then also making the point that, well, he was the one in full charge, and people could have advised, but the bucks stopped with him. That statement he made was quite, whether you like it or not, it is the truth. I'm saying it is the truth. But the point is that, you see, when it's going your way, you are saying somebody, please, you wait, I've not finished.
No, you have not finished, and I know where you are going to land.
So the point is this, it is true that the bucks stops with the president. Okay, you can advise. If he wants to take, he will take. If he doesn't want to take, he would not take. And everybody knows in Ghana that this president is a president who would not pander even to public opinion. Okay, public opinion that is so weighty, if he will not pander to it, how will he pander to somebody that he himself, appointed? And so the backstop with him is true. But my worry is, you see, karma is too wicked. When some people were asking others 170 questions, they forgot that actually the backs stopped with the president. And so it is unhelpful to always want to be saying certain things when you don't have the full picture of a situation. J. Kufuor, when he was in opposition, he was criticizing Jerry Rawlings for having a big-sized government. Now he got to power, and then he had a bigger-sized government. When he was quizzed, he said, I'm sorry, when I was in opposition, I saw things different. And when I got into government, things are different. He apologized. So sometimes it is important to apologize to the people of Ghana. That when I was not there, I was asking 170 questions. But I got there and I realized that I am not the one who takes, the ultimate decision. So President also sought to tell all of us that in spite of our current challenges, there is some hope. And I said, well, this is better than the previous presentations that created a situation that all was going on well. Okay, the essence of governance is to give hope to people. And so if he tried to give us hope, it is good. So on this score, I want to commend the president living up to his constitutional duty. Don't say for once. I
don't want you to pander to the distractions.
No, but you say, I know.
Stay on course. Yes.
I know, but just a letter response to say that. You see, if you say for once, we have always. You've been in Ghana. You know my stance when your party was in opposition. Okay, so don't worry. Very soon, if power changes hands, we'll be. I say very soon in future. Nobody stays in power in perpetuity. So if power change hands very soon, we'll be friends because I will be run for example.
Okay. That's all right.
It's fine. All right, but you see, it was regrettable that the president didn't touch on certain important issues. I think you guys have mentioned the fight against corruption. That makes us look like people who are always fetching water in basket. The president didn't talk about it. I was quite disappointed. I've also heard the argument about the president not talking about youth unemployment. And you see, with the greatest of respect to the president, he must appreciate the fact that youth employment and their effective participation in the governance and decision-making process beyond they serving as full soldiers is a counter-insurgency strategy, which, when not fully appreciated, would always make us a nation that would always reduce us into a nation that is always sitting on the time bomb. I'm saying youth participation and youth employment, they are a counter-insurgency, when not fully appreciated, would always reduce us into a nation that is always sitting on a time bomb. What do I mean? You see, it is only when young people are gainfully employed, okay, that you can be assured that they wouldn't be rowdy, they wouldn't be wayward, they cannot be mobilized to torpedo or to topple the existing system. But we are told that out of about 33 million, about 11 million only about 11 million are employed, and this 11 million includes people whose work can be described as seriously underemployment, and also peasant farmers. And it is scary. Okay, when you go elsewhere and they are holding elections, people are not. Let me tell you this experience too. So I was in the U.S. when Barack Obama was going through that election, the very day of election. I went to see my supervisor, Professor Pearl Robinson, and I said, Prof, but do you think that, are you sure that there is election going on in this country? And he said, yes, you go and vote, and then you go to work, go and vote and go to work. I said, but why are we not hearing Peace FM reporting that some people have done this, some people? And he said, well, everybody is busy working. Okay, so you just want to cast your ballot and then just go to work. But when people are jobless, then they become easily mobilizable and manipulable to be used as agents to foment violent conflict. And it doesn't. And dear nouveau rich and dear elites of our system, let me remind you of the fear, the scare, and the paranoia you go through when you drive and get to the traffic lights at Upunglu. You get to the traffic lights at Fiesa Royal Hotel. You get to the traffic lights around the National Theatre. When you get to the traffic lights at Opebia, and you see these brazen young people banging at your windscreen and insisting on cleaning the windscreen and also demanding that you pay them something. I remind you of how you feel when you see these guys. Now, if we don't address the problem of youth unemployment, very soon we'll get to that point where they wouldn't just bang, but they'll break into people's they'll break windscreen and get into people's car, kick them out of their vehicles, and take over, as is becoming rampant in countries like South Africa.
You've spoken.
Okay, as is becoming rampant in countries like South Africa. And so, look, as for the political elites, when they get to those traffic lights, they would not even have respect for the traffic lights. As you go to other countries, you see people, presidents and prime ministers, when they see the traffic light, red means stop, they stop. But in Ghana, because of poverty and accessism, you see, it is the poor man who lives big. So when they see the traffic light, they will not stop.
Right.
Okay, and even if they decide to stop, they would have escorts and security around them. So they would not be susceptible to the kind of dangers that those of us who do not have those escorts are prone to. Okay, good. So we will stay at the traffic lights, and we are the ones who would be threatened by these people who go about parading at the traffic lights as if they want to clean your windscreen and all that. So it is up to you and I, I'm talking about the elites in society, to keep on fighting for government to do more to bring about more youth employment so that our young people would be actively engaged. When I hear the kinds of work statistics, we have offered this million jobs, we have offered that million jobs, and then you see every day people are bringing to you their CVs, and I'm asking, but haven't you heard about the number of jobs that are... So the kinds of jobs that politicians tend to offer, I've always argued, are like the kinds of religious miracles that are staged on crusade grounds by fake religious leaders. They are always, every night, they say somebody was a cripple and he's been made to walk. But often we do not know them. You would always not know them. So they talk about achievements that are not tangible. We want Ghanaians to come and say that hitherto we didn't have jobs to do, but now we have jobs to do. It is very important that these things, happen. It is also regrettable that, look, the president of the land said nothing about the destruction of our source of livelihood, the environment. It is somebody who initially said he was going to put his presidency on the line. It is regrettable that he couldn't say anything about the destruction of the environment. But without the environment, we would not have a president. Without the environment, we wouldn't have the presentation of SONA. Without the environment, we wouldn't be listeners and hearers of any presentation, you know, of the SONA. And so, look, it is true. You cannot have a SONA touching on everything. Thank you. To be fair, yes, the SONA would not be able to touch on everything. But certain things are so key, they are so critical that if you do not highlight or touch on them in your presentation of the State of the Nation address, then it means you do not even have your priorities right. Because as for the environment, it decides everything.
So my point to me is money.
So everywhere you go, people are so mindful about come to University of Ghana. Come to University of Ghana here. There is a tree branch that is fallen, and then you as an individual, okay, you as an individual, you need permission. You cannot on your own cut any tree branch. You can't do that. True. You have to appeal to the authorities, and the authorities will come and then see how best they can prune a tree. But here, we cut if outside the university, we cut indiscriminately, and then beyond that, we are always, you know, look at how we have compromised our environment, you know, through mining. Lastly, you see, regrettably, President Akufo-Addo is the only president who has had the kind of goodwill, okay, that he enjoyed, who had the kind of goodwill that he enjoyed at the time before his election and at time of his election. I do not think that maybe apart from Nkrumah, the kind of goodwill that President Akufo-Addo had in 2016 and around 2017 is unparalleled, is unprecedented. That is what transcended into the kind of over 1 million votes that he had, that set him apart from his closest contender. But he is the same president, the only president who has also dissipated the goodwill massively to the point that it's almost near zero. Now, Jerry Rawlings had ruled for over almost 20 years. And at the time that he was exiting, of course, you had people who were not so happy, but generally people felt that Bema Bayebi, he had done some. Rawlings left, and Kufuor came. Kufuor also had some goodwill because people were tired of Rawlings' close to 20 years rule. And so Kufuor also came. He had goodwill, but at the time of exiting, he had also done some in a manner that had won applause from people. Not all were happy. Atta Mills came, he died in office. Nobody was expecting John Mahama, nobody was expecting Mills to die for John Mahama to take over. So for John Mahama, he had to take over purely per accident. But at the time that he exited, he had also done his best. People were not happy with him, but we cannot talk about enough goodwill that had been dissipated by him. But when it comes to President Akufo-Addo, there is a certain bipartisan disappointment among Ghanaians in him, such that within his own party, his own officials and other foot soldiers, when they meet you behind the scene, they gossip that we are disappointed. Across the political divide, there is a certain disappointment that, look, you said enough, we had a lot of hope and confidence in you, but you have not done what you said you'll be doing. Look, in terms of hardships, look, there would always be forward ever, backward never. It will not happen that they used to sell fuel 4 cedis per gallon yesterday, and today it is going to be 1 cedi. It will be backward, it will be forward ever. So things would always be hard. But the point is that if you are looking for power and you've given people some hope, then you have to manage things such that even though they may be hard, we can be able to offer a certain explanation and defense, but not to govern such that today you have $1 to a cedi being 13 cedis, as against the time that you took over, that was around 3 cedis, 80 pesos, or 4 cedi. Okay, it brings about a lot of, if you are going to buy sachet water, it was 1 cedi, 50 pesos. Today it's 10 cedis. And if you go through all these, you look at the current, economic hardships, and you want to say that things are better, then it becomes very difficult for us to. One thing that the president tried to do, which unfortunately for him, many of us saw, was his attempt to compare his regime to his regime. You see, his attempt to compare his regime to regime. But you see, in every democratic electoral contest for power, you don't compare achievements of regime with regime. You compare achievements from regime to regime. Right. You don't compare achievements of regime in regimes. Okay, so the point is that he sought to compare what has been achieved now by his government to what was achieved previously by his government. No. In the lead up, as we gear up towards the 2024 general elections, what was the state of the economy of Ghana in 2017? And what is the state of the economy of Ghana in 2024? This would be the rational comparison to make. But you can't say that my government, we did this, and then things slowed down, and then we've been able, still within the same government. It doesn't, convince anybody. Okay. And so, all in all, I think the president, like I said, he yielded to, yes, he did his presentation in line with the constitutional requirements. He was sober, he was calm, but there are several challenges that Ghana faces today that makes him, in my view, looks like the president who has disappointed Ghanaians the most. On doing so, let me say briefly that I've always argued, and if you come to my governance and leadership class, we teach the first day of lectures. You see, we tell the students that, you see, the essence of governance is to solve problems. I don't care whether Dunso is here or Dunso is there or Dunso was there or what. I don't care about the explanations. Okay? There is always an explanation as to why things happen. So in the NDC era, there was an explanation as to why there was Dunso. Okay. And today, if power comes and go, there is also an explanation to why it comes and go. Okay? But the essence of governance is not to offer explanations. We don't care about the explanations that you are giving. Whether there is excess power but you don't have money, or whether there was no excess power. It is inconsequential to the people's quest for stable supply of power. Okay. So don't be giving us explanation. Oh, the power has gone off because of this or because of that. So in 2024, post-2024 elections, we are looking for a leader who would just come and do, not a leader who would come and be explaining. We are looking for a leader. Yes, we are looking for a leader who would help in restoring the erosion of the public confidence in the political elites. Now, all political elites are quite endangered. People see you as liars. People see you as thieves. Now, there's a lot of erosion in the public confidence in the political elites. And look, I'm saying that if we do not get a leader who would lead selflessly in a manner to restore this public confidence, then it becomes difficult for us as a nation to continue to, because then tomorrow, then we are all like fowls on the street. Indeed. If people lose confidence in the political elites,
that's very, very important, because there's a number of messages here says that the issues that Professor Jampo and all other panelists have raised about the state of affairs in this country is crucial and critical. It must be, it says, it must be taken into consideration, devoid of the political undertones, you say. And George Dovlo, thank you. I take notice of your message as well. This one here from Peter Pate Anti says, this is what the president said about youth employment in 2017, youth unemployment. He said the most critical challenge inherited is the very high unprecedented level of unemployment. And then another one with no name says the removal of teacher trainee allowances saw an increase in enrollment at the colleges of education. Thank you very much for your message. And for example, you made reference to this illegal mining matter. The Attorney General, because I know this is a matter, because he says that he's yet to be served with any docket on investigations into Akonta mining's alleged illegal mining activities. So that's another matter that we are looking into.
Yeah, it's taking too long. The CID person and
he said he's yet to be served.
Slow.
I want you to take a look at this.
No, he will never be served, and we will continue to compromise our environment.
That's another thing.
If we are serious, if we are serious in this fight, you wouldn't wait to be served. Follow up.
Exactly.
Thank you.
No,
so I wanted to, gentlemen, hold on.
Follow up.
I want to take a look at this. This is another issue that, Council, you have made your position clear that because of other bread and butter issues, we should be moving
never
on.
be served.
But Parliament took a decision this week. Take a look.
I'm going to put the question. I'm going to put the question that the motion has been moved and seconded. And I left it for your consideration. You made your point. And it's not for me to take the decision, it's for the House to take the decision. And so I put the question. Those in favor that the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2021 be taken through the third reading, say aye. Aye. Those against, say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2021 is read the third time and passed.
Now, Easter is here again. Book your family trip with us this Easter holidays. Stay 2 nights and get the third night for free. Gentlemen, stay 2 nights and get, I'll tell you, with all meals inclusive, including dinner with live band every evening, starting from just about 5,100 for a couple.
For a teacher? For a teacher?
29th March through to the 1st of April 2024. I'm talking about a package offer guests free access to all in-house facilities, swimming pool, gym, cinema with popcorn, board games, snooker, etc., and entertainment. You also enjoy free airport pickup from Takoradi on weekends. Fun activities include a tour of a beautiful facility with an electric golf cart, splash playground for kids, bouncy castle, a trampoline, and then also bicycles rides and trampolines and quad bike rides, many others. And the venue I'm talking about, Professor Jampo, is the Maha Beach Resort.
Oh, okay, that's my place.
Yes.
I mean,
Maha Beach Resort.
I've been there
You've been there.
times.
So you can testify to the goodness
as a teacher
of Maha Beach Resort.
What is your problem?
You just said when they started, you asked the question that as a lecturer. Now you've let
call for your reservations now to avoid disappointment on the number 030-3977-773. Maha Beach Resort. Enjoy. Now, so as for this,
how many minutes are we doing?
In fact, I got a message from Professor Kwekwaza when, for example, you were talking. Professor Kwekwaza says, good morning. He's watching us now. He says, apologies, he had to make an intervention, but because of time. He says, when people say the Constitution was written for Rawlings, they fail to see that most of the constitutional provisions were identical to those of 1979. Essentially concludes that, but the problem we face today is largely not of the making of the Constitution. We are not being citizens. Parliament is not playing its watchdog role. The judiciary is not being independent. The Council of State's role is appointing independent bodies have been upset by the presidency with the blessing of the judiciary. we are 95% of the problem. That's Professor Gukwaza. Thank you very much. Now, after Parliament took decision, no, Prof.
You with him,
but it's a conversation. Next week he's going to.
Yes, I'll let you.
He'll join us.
I disagreed with most of the things he said,
indeed.
but I'll let you flow.
That's right. So this decision that has been taken by Parliament, I know that the president, yes, has been.
I thought
so you have made your position.
No, I want to use my 1 minute to say, Madam, and Kofi, has to resign if she will not do the Akunta mining case. Because it's been too slow.
Okay, thank you.
She's been Madam and Kofi. If you can't consult Akunta mining,
what is going to be the next way forward, especially
that you can't do the case
for this anti-LGBTQ bill that has been passed?
So please, let's share.
Yes. I have 3 minutes to do this.
Let's
I'll quickly ask Prof a question. Prof, is there all your students in your lecture room that pass through your class that pass exams?
No. You want me to respond to that?
Yeah. Do they all pass their exams?
No.
So in that same way, don't expect government that as much as they are creating jobs, everybody will get a job.
Okay. That was not the point.
No,
it's asking a question. Can I get
no, you get your point.
You get, Prof.
Now, with the LGBTQ, it's come to stay. They've passed the law. As much as they are too stringent on certain things, I would say that it's quite harsh a bit. I wish they would have looked at it again, or they would have looked at it carefully. But now it's gotten to the president. Other people, civil societies have raised objections to it. I don't know whether they will send it to court before the president
signs. About 18 of them.
18 of them.
They might. But some of them are getting ready to go to the Supreme Court to test the law.
And don't forget that in everything that we are doing, it has its pros and cons. There are issues that come with it, so we should be ready to face all these issues as they come. But I quickly have to respond to just a few things. On the constitution that we talked about, the president asked for a consensus to look at the changes in the constitution. And he also admitted that the constitution is not a perfect document. So we should take note of that. We also talked about the DMD in all his listing, never said anywhere that he didn't agree with the policy of government. He said he has his own direction, he has his own policy. And when he comes in, he feels that charging taxes on data and all these things that increase the prices will not help him. That's why he talked about the e-levy that will be scrapped. On the corruption case, President talked about the OSP, I believe. And talking about OSP alone is talking about corruption. Okay. He brought in the OSP to tackle corruption. And so I don't see why he should dwell or write 2 or 3 pages about corruption to talk about that. On the 170 questions that Prof asked, that DMD asked the former vice president, if you go and read the questions very well, many of them were talking about what we did within the within the time Kufuor was in power, the things we put in place. And he was asking him that he should go and check and tell Ghanaians whether it's true or not, whether we put these things in place. So when you accuse the vice president that he's asked the other vice president questions, I beg to differ. I ask you that, have you really read the questions he's asked?
So, Mr. Thompson, would you, in rounding up in 30 seconds, this concern that has been raised by these Alfred. CSOs, also taking into consideration the entire objective of the bill that has been passed by Parliament, what should be the major consideration going forward, quickly, for the anti-LGBTQ plus bill?
I believe that whether we like it or not, Ghanaians in totality are against the promiscuous behavior of other people, that is the gays and the lesbians and any other thing. So we, under our law, already has it there that you can't have carnal knowledge with another person.
Okay.
So it's in our law. But I think the parliament itself in totality, all of them agreed to it. I think there was no objection. So it's both 137 that agreed to it that they should let this law go through. Once it's gone through, I think the president, either you have to assent before it goes to court, or it can go to court whilst he's doing whatever it is. But whatever it is, Ghanaians will come out with their objection to it. And I believe that we should look at it in entirety and make sure that it serves in the interest of all Ghanaians and not some Ghanaians.
For example.
All right, thank you. In the conduct of exam, you see, you expect a normal curve results where some would do very well, majority of them average, and a few not doing so well. So if you hold exam and majority of the class fail, then the lead teacher cannot be immune from being questioned.
That's right.
And so in terms of our fight for employment for young people, no one has said it anywhere that you will be able to find employment for all. After all, we have been in other countries. US, I was driving at the traffic light, somebody came to beg for money. So as for the poor and unemployment, I mean, poverty and unemployment will always be with us, but the quantum, okay, is what we are talking about. LGBT, I think briefly what I would say is that for now, it doesn't sit well with our stage of democratic progression. Okay, it doesn't sit well with our stage of democratic progression. A nation moves from authoritarianism to transitional democratic status, to a liberal democratic status, to advanced liberal democratic status. In all these 4 stages of democratic progression, there are human rights that are emphasized. We are a transitional, if you talk about authoritarianism, in authoritarian regime, human beings don't have rights other than the ones allowed by the leader. In transitional democracies, you have just political rights that are not so much developed, being experienced there. So it is within transitional democracy that people would have the right to speak against the government, to form political parties, and to hold elections, whether free or fair, peaceful and transparent, would not really be the issue. But it is political right that tends to be emphasized so much in transitional democracies. Other rights, which you call economic, cultural, and social rights, are either so severely underdeveloped or non-existent in transitional democracies. Okay, so Ghana is a transitional democracy.
Right.
Now, it is within the democracies that respect ECOSOC rights, economic, cultural, and social rights, that you have LGBTs, fledgling. Okay. So, elsewhere, somebody can sue a government for not having employment. But here, if you do that, they will say, oh, yeah, bibi, because economic rights are not so developed. But if you go to liberal democracies, okay, all the rights are developed. If you go to advanced liberal democracies, that is where people have all the rights developed and they claim access and ownership to human rights that are sometimes beyond human imaginations. Okay. That is where somebody will get up and say, as for me, I am a tree. And whether I like it, it is my right to remain a tree. And you must respect that. Okay, so in terms of our stages of democratic progression, I'm not surprised that Ghanaians are having this kind of reaction to the anti-LGBT. I mean, they don't like it. And within the stage of our democratic progression, that's the kind of behavior that people put up.
Yeah. Thank you. Now, Professor Jampo, thank you very much. Alhassan Suini had to leave us because he had to attend to something very urgent as well. But Martin Bebo has a message to the CID bosses. It says that they are contaminating the investigations, make sure at least that
let's go to court. It's taking too long. It's open and shut.
Relax.
And the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Governor Dami, is saying he's yet to be served with the docket. So that is a call from Lawyer Martin Bebo. He's a private legal practitioner, also the leader of the Komi demonstration. Thank you very much. Alfred Thompson, thank you for coming. Also, Professor Ransford Jampo.
Lagos Stadium was commissioned by His Excellency. Something that has been left since Kofo's time.
Thank you. And let me
something
say
that has been left from Kofo's time. We should be talking about those.
Coming. Thank you. And also to you, Alhassan Suini, thank you. Ben Boache, thank you very much. Kofi Asari, Africa Education Watch, thank you very much for joining. And also Mariada of Ghana Integrity Initiative, thank you as well for joining us. And it is indeed the case